So when you're connecting with the web user interface, that contains almost all of the operations, whatever you can do with Snowflake can be done using web user interfaces. And when you are loading data using an interface, rather than using a query, the amount of data is limited. So it is 2 GB of data maximum can be loaded, because the limitage is based on the browser. Okay, because of it, you are using just a browser. So there is some limitage for each browser where how much data can be transferred in one single unit. So because of that, we have a load limiter there for loading data into tables using a web UI. So you can execute any type of queries here, except taking data from your local system. You are able to execute any type of query. Taking data from local system has to be done from that system only, okay? Because the cloud cannot identify your system. So you may not have a public ID or something like that, right? So it cannot identify your system. So it cannot access your local system and get the data unless you are working on a web UI or you are specifying from your local system, right? So that is how it works. You are able to change your Snowflake password. You can specify preferences, something like that. You are able to change roles and perform any type of task assigned for those roles also. So this is how a database page looks like. So I'm just going through it a little faster because we are going to see it in the demo itself, right? So you can create, clone, or drop a database. So what do you mean by cloning? We will see that sometime a little later on, right? So you know what is creating a database and dropping a database. So if you create a database, you become the owner by default, and you can transfer your ownership also to a different role. We have two concepts here, user and role, right? So for access control, we have user and role, but the role will be controlling all these aspects of access control. For example, if my username is Murali, my role name is sysadmin, for example. So what happens? Murali will not be the owner of the object, whatever the Murali is creating, right? So I am connecting to Snowflake using Murali, but Murali will not be the owner of any object I create. So in which role I have created it, so that role will be the owner of that one. Okay, so we will be explaining these things more detail sometime later on. Okay, so that is how it's been working on the database page. You are able to create a database, and you are able to perform any task on the database itself. So you have table, view, schema, stages, file format, sequences. Anything can be done using this web UI itself. Then warehouse page. So whenever you are creating a database, it is just a database. You remember it, it is a separate layer. So when you want to access the database, I need a warehouse. Without a warehouse, you cannot access the database. So you need to create a warehouse also separately, right? So from here, you can create a warehouse, and you can suspend a warehouse and resume a warehouse also, right? So suspending a warehouse means the warehouse cannot be used on suspended stage. So the warehouse should be resumed when you want to use it. Okay, so that is how warehouse is being used. So why we need to suspend a warehouse? So when you are suspending a warehouse, there will be no charges at all, right? So there are no charges at all. If the warehouse is running, then only the charges will be happening. Okay. For example, the normal charges around $3 per hour. Okay. So if your warehouse is running continuously for 1 hour, you have to pay $3. $3 means I'm telling an approximate value. It may be 3.5, 3.6 or something like that, depending upon your region and depending upon your size of the warehouse. Okay, so that is how it works. So the charges will be taken into account only for the running time, right? So if you are not running a warehouse, the charges will not be there. And if you are not running a warehouse, you are not able to execute any queries. Okay, so your charges will be occurring only when you are running a query and when you only when you are executing it. Okay, so that is how you can save. It is more cost effective actually, right? You can save a lot of money over there. So warehouses also can be transferred, ownership can be transferred to other role. Next thing is about the worksheet page, which most of the developers will be working here only. So a powerful interface for entering and submitting SQL queries, because even though we have a web UI, query execution is the most important part. So because we can do a lot of things using query execution. If you are familiar with the normal SQL queries, so that is enough. So because Snowflake is following the standard ANSI, right? So ANSI SQL standard is being followed here. So any normal database, if you have worked with earlier, it is very easy for working with Snowflake also. And along with the worksheet, in the worksheet page, you can see that along with the query execution area, you will be having the results. It will show you the results immediately whenever it is creating, when you are executing a select query, and the history of queries. What all the queries you have executed so far for this particular session. So that will be created, right? So whenever you are entering into a Snowflake account, so you will be seeing the query editor, SQL editor only initially, right? So that is how it works. So we call them as worksheets. So what are the tasks you can do in worksheets? So you can do all kind of DDL and DML. You can open multiple worksheets together, right? So concurrent worksheets. So each worksheets will be creating a separate session, right? You know what is a session? So session is a particular channel for connecting to your account. So you can create multiple sessions like that, right? So when you are creating a worksheet, automatically another session is being created. So each session can have a different warehouse, a different role of an user, and it can have a different data connectivity, and everything else can be separate, right? So you can run all these worksheets concurrently also. Each of the worksheets can be saved, and it will be stored in Snowflake itself, and you can reopen it at any point of time. So automatically by every 10 seconds or something like the worksheets will be saved automatically. And if you are logging out or switching the roles, it means that you are refreshing your browser, and it can be done without losing your work, right? So if any running query is there, if you are into middle of the running query, so they will resume the running when the refresh is completed. Okay, so you will not be losing any data at that point of time. Similar manner, you are able to resize your warehouse size. So when the query is executing, that time itself you are able to resize your warehouse. So warehouses can be resized. For example, if your query execution is not up to the level, that means that it is taking longer time. So what you can do is you can just increase the warehouse size. But the query what is executing currently will not get into effect, right? So we cannot take the new size of the warehouse. The next query which is running on can take the new size. For example, I am running a medium size of warehouse, and I feel that the execution takes longer time. So I can go for a higher size like Excel or something like that. Okay, that can be done whenever you are executing a query itself. So now you don't need to stop the warehouse for increasing or decreasing the size of a warehouse. Okay, warehouses need not to be stopped. On the fly, you are able to reduce or increase the size. Similar manner, you are able to export the result of a selected statement. So if the results will be available for maximum of 24 hours in the cache memory itself, so that you can export it to a CSV file or TSV file like that, right? So you are able to export it. History page will show you what all the queries you have executed. So this will be very much useful for doing a historical data retrieval, right? So for example, you have executed some queries some days before, and you want to get the exact output of that query itself. So you can, because after that, the data might be changed, right? So the data might get updated or something like that. So I don't want the newer one. I want the old data for some hours back. I want to go and take it out. So you can go to the historical listing. You can check out what are the queries being executed in that particular time, and you can get the result set from there, right? So that is possible over there. And also to calculate how much queries being executed or what might be the time credits will be there available. And if you want to analyze about the query execution, that also can be done using this historical page. So if you want to know about how much time it has taken and whether it is giving us a good performance or not, something like that, right? So you will be using the historical page for getting all these things done. So the last 14 days of query execution, how much query you are executing, that doesn't matter. Last 14 days of the query execution will be available here. If you want more than that, that also will be available in a separate place. So you need to access it separately, right? Fine. So what are the things you can do with historical page? You can abort a query which is running which is taking longer time. If you want to abort the query and assigning a different warehouse and execute the same query, that is also possible here. You can see the result of a query, and you can see the what is the start time and end time of each query, and right, which warehouse it's been used, something like that.